Hey guys, Eric from WayScript. So today I'm going to show you guys how you can make an email management system in minutes using WayScript to be able to send emails out to your clients using SendGrid to invite, attract, and retain new customers. Let's get to it. So to get started, just go to wayscript.com, log into your account, and click Create Script. I'm going to name my script Email from HTTP Trigger. WayScript's going to create a script, and because we're going to want to make a request to an HTTP endpoint on your site, we can just add an HTTP trigger to get started. Because we're going to want various different emails, so say I might want to send an invite email to a friend, or ask a user of my site to rate the site, or ask a user to come back on who's been missing for a long time. I'm going to want to add parameters to figure out what type of email I'm trying to send. So one of the parameters will be type. I'll set the default here to invite. Another one will be email, and this is who we're sending it to, and I'll set the default to my email. And then another we'll just set as name, and then I'll set that to my name as the default. So another thing to note is that we don't want to have random people calling our endpoint and sending emails, so we can password protect it. And WayScript makes that super easy. You just click this on-off password protection toggle, and then we can manage the credentials to run our function, which I'll show you guys how to do later. So now that we have these different types, we can send a certain email based on some if logic with our types. So I'll just do like 3 types. I think that makes sense. So we can have an if, an else if, and an else. So in our if, first we'll do if type is the same as invite, we can send a certain email, and then if that can be case sensitive, and then else if our type is equal to rate, we could ask the user to rate our site in an email, and then in our else, that's just going to hit every other case. So now, because we want to send them an email, we can do this with plain text with WayScript, but we can also make a beautiful email with CSS and HTML. So here I'm going to add a CSS module, and here I'm going to add an HTML module. So I'm actually not going to use my CSS module in here because I have some pre-coded up HTML modules, but I just put that out there to show you that you can add whatever CSS to make your email as customizable as possible. So quickly, I'm going to add these modules and be right back. Cool, so I just finished adding in the 3 CSS and HTML modules. Another thing I want to do is set the subject. So I'm going to want to add this variable, create variable function. And because each one of these if statements has a different, will do a different thing, I want to set the subject to a different thing in each case. So for the if, which it says if the subject is equal to rate, we can say that our subject, if the type is rate, then our subject is equal to, since this one's the invite, we can say blank has invited you to WayScript. And then we can use our variable, since we send in the name as a query parameter, we can put this right here and say that this name has invited you to use WayScript. So then here we can say tell us what you think, because this one's going to be of type rate, so if we're asking the user to rate our site. And then in the last create variable, we could say subject equals come back soon, if we're inviting an old user back to our site again. So now just to put this together, to send out our emails, we're going to use a really cool plugin called SendGrid. And what SendGrid does is you just add an email to your account. I'm going to put that step there so that all of the possible branches of logic could go there. So I'm going to say from my email, Eric Tor, to my email, because I'm using the same email here everywhere. The subject is going to be set to subject. The body is going to be set to HTML body, or HTML code, which is the output of any one of these. And then after this, I can output a status code. I don't have to do that, but if I wanted to know that it worked successfully, I could output a status code and then check and see that the status code was correct. So now I could just run this. It would send something to my inbox, but I'm also going to show you guys how to do this programmatically. So if you want to loop over multiple emails, you can do this super easily. So one of the best things about WayScript is they make it super easy to access and execute your cloud functions. So if you want to go to the HTTP trigger, they have 3 ready to go ways to execute your function. You could either go to that endpoint, do a curl request, which they give you the code for, a Python request, or a JavaScript request. And then, like I was saying before, you don't want anyone to be able to call this function, so they'll help you create username and password. And then I'm going to be using Python to run this function, so I'm just going to copy this basic authorization, and then I copy and pasted a code snippet from the WayScript GitHub, and I just put this here, and it'll help me execute my sending emails function on each sublist of this bigger list called queries, and then it'll send out an email for every one of these queries. So I'm going to execute this, and then all of the emails will show up in my inbox. So another way that you could do this is you could add a SQL table, and then you'd be able to just loop over those just like I did with the Python. But basically, I just run this function, and that's it. All my emails are sent out. Cool. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. WayScript makes it super easy to build templates to in minutes send out beautiful emails to your clients. So I hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, just please let us know. Have a good one. Peace.